upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Are you interested in learning more about preparing quick, healthy, and safe meals for your family? Would you like to spend time with others learning tips and tricks, along with practicing and tasting nutritious food? If so, the On the Road to Healthy Living Mobile Cooking School is for you. Call Amy Ressler at Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service at 936-539-7825 to find a class near you or volunteer to host a class.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Everybody, and thank you for listening and watching the Cindy Cochran Show, because we are on so many formats right now that you can't miss us. I mean, you try to get away from us maybe, but we're there. So it is it's going to be fun today. It'll be a little scary, creepy, and all that. Not the person that's here, but it just some stuff she probably has to give us. Leah Lamp is going to be my guest today. And but before that, I have to thank our sponsor. We have a new sponsor. He was a sponsor for the show whenever we were at the old place, and came back. So I told people, see, if he'd come back, that's good. So if you want to sponsor the Cindy Cochran Show, we welcome everybody. But Chris Wootton with the Wootton Financial Group is our sponsor, and we love that guy. He's so sweet. He's so kind, and he's going to be here tomorrow. Yes, he is. So if you have questions that you want to ask him, I don't know if he can answer them over the air, but but we'll give you his number so you can call him. But you got to meet him and get to know him, because that's how you do business with people. You got to find out, is this somebody I could work with, or is this an obnoxious person, or is this whatever? And see, but I still work with those kind of people, because Richard is not the easiest to work with. I don't know if he's ever said that about me, but I don't think he's ever said, Cindy's, boy, she's just smooth as silk, so, easy to work with. She always has her stuff done. She knows exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking to her tech-wise. No. So anyway, but Chris Wootton is a very understanding guy, and I am probably the worst person to talk about finances. My sister's a CPA, and we did a show together, and I was her foil because she knew I knew nothing about finances. I was horrible about, I used to keep my records on a Raggedy Ann and Andy calendar, and she said I had to bring that into the IRS, and so you got to figure out another way to keep your notes. But anyway, so Chris Wootton will be here tomorrow, and we will have a lot of fun and learn a whole lot, I am sure. Okay, so today we have Leah Lamp, and she is the founder, the creator, the all-knowing of the ghost tours of Montgomery County, of Lone Star ghost tours.
No, Lamplight ghost tours.
Lamps. It started with an L though. See, I had
that's
that
right.
Yeah.
But it's my last name, Lamp.
Yes, Lamp.
Lamplight ghost tours.
It's such a great Lamplight. Then use that ghost tours of Montgomery County. Is that Montgomery, or is it just
it's
Conroe?
just Lamplight ghost tours, and the only tour that we do right now is in Montgomery.
Okay.
The town of Montgomery.
The town of Montgomery.
That's right.
So but didn't you do one in Conroe?
No.
You did not do one in Conroe.
No.
Oh, it was too scary, right? I am
There
sure.
is a ghost tour here, and I don't know what their route is yet. I will find out. because I don't want to edge in on somebody else.
Oh, okay. That was so nice of you.
So
There's not enough ghosts to go around. I mean,
I think there are plenty of ghosts to go around, but you
Yes.
don't want, like, I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, I'm sure there's plenty of places. When you do a walking tour, which is what I do and what the ghost tour here in town does, you have to limit it to a certain amount. And in Montgomery's smaller than Conroe, way smaller than Conroe. And I really think there could be 2 other ghost tours, just because, you know, we have to limit it to about an hour and a half. Of a walk, which is about a mile. That's a very slow mile.
Wait.
It's a very slow mile, but we stop. We stop and
That's
we talk.
good.
And,
Okay.
and I tell the stories. I don't just, you know, run them through and just say it as we're running by. But so you have to limit it. And so there's so many more places that I know about in Montgomery. Montgomery is a very historical town. You know, we live in the great state of Texas, which is the only state in the U.S. that was its own country.
That's right.
And I guess that was, I have my notes here in front of me because
Go
I
ahead.
did this on the tour.
Go ahead.
From 1836 to 1846. And out of the over 250 counties, Montgomery County was the 3rd one formed under the Republic of Texas.
It was.
And it was named after the town of Montgomery because that was the county seat. And I heard rumors.
Yes. Oh, I love the
I heard
rumors.
rumors that Conroe very viciously stole our county seat in closed door late night meetings.
Oh.
There's a lot of people in Montgomery still salty about it, apparently. But I'm glad for that because it
Yeah.
kind of doomed Montgomery to stay a small town, and I love the small town.
Right,
I
right.
love the feel of Montgomery, but it was really a boom town. It had a hotel, it had a train station, both passenger and freight, and of course the Civil War happened there in the 1861 to 1865. So there were a lot of Civil War soldiers come through that train station in Montgomery, and a lot of them on their last ride home in a pine box.
Oh.
So there's a lot of Civil War apparitions around the town, but specifically in the new cemetery. And when I say new cemetery, that was the cemetery created in 1868 or 68.
That's in Montgomery.
It's in Montgomery. It's still being used.
And still
it's
has
the
this-
new cemetery, 1868.
And it has the Civil War vets.
It has a lot of, well, both, okay, so there's 3 historic cemeteries in Montgomery. There's the Black Cemetery. It's called Montgomery Memorial Cemetery, and it started as a slave cemetery. And it's over on 1097, and it's still in use. Then there was the new cemetery that was created in 1840. However, I found some graves in there older than that. I think it was a family cemetery at first. Then the old Methodist church took it over. And
They took it over to watch it?
they built the church next to it, and I think it's the Methodist church. Let me think about this.
That's got to be
Yes, it's
weird.
the Methodist church, old Methodist church. It was built in 1851, and so they started meeting there before that. The building that's there now was built in 1851, but the congregation started meeting there in 1839. So in 1840, they took over that cemetery as the church cemetery, and it's consecrated ground. There's a difference between a cemetery and a graveyard. Did you know that?
No. What's the
A
difference?
graveyard is the yard of a church, and so it's consecrated ground. It's holy ground, and so even though it's called the old cemetery, it is actually the new. It's actually a graveyard because it's attached to a church, and it's important because I said it was starting to fill up, right, and so some 7 acres was donated by the Willis brothers of Willis, Texas, okay, very wealthy merchants, in December 1st, 1868, and it was designated as the new cemetery, but it was going to be, the old one was going to be used for a little while. It wasn't quite full yet. But just 4 weeks later, on December 28th, 4 men rode into Montgomery. William McGraw, who was a county attorney, sounds like a very upstanding individual. He
Yes.
was not. No. He was not.
He was a lawyer?
He was a lawyer, but he was also an outlaw. He and his 2 half-brothers, John and Bob Oliver, and their friend Charles Brown, had stolen some horses from a nearby community. They were riding into town, riding away from a mob that was following them. Mm-hmm. And And then when they got into Montgomery, right down the main street, which is now 149, they were robbing the citizens, riding their horses up into the businesses, shooting their guns off, and just causing havoc.
Oh, yeah.
And so when the mob from the nearby community of Bear Bend, where they stole horses, managed to get to Montgomery, another mob had formed in Montgomery, and there was a huge shootout on the main street of town. There's an old State Bank building there, which is on my tour.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
it has a bullet hole in the door. from
Right.
that.
Oh, that's I just got to see that. That's so cool.
Well, 3 of the robbers were killed in that shootout. One robber, 16-year-old Bob Oliver, ran away. He ran up a street and went into a house of an old widow woman. The house is an historic house. It's still there. Crawled up under he hid out there. Mm-hmm. The mob gathered outside, yelling for him to come out. And he wouldn't do it until they promised him that they wouldn't shoot him. So he came out and they stabbed him. He went back into the house, crawled up under a bed, and died. So they did not, the people of the town did not want to bury those men in the graveyard on consecrated ground. So they're the first ones buried in the new cemetery.
Okay, now so the graveyard is the one that's consecrated.
The graveyard
Consecrated.
is the yard of a church.
And that's why it's consecrated.
And it's consecrated, yeah.
And so the cemetery is just anybody can be there.
Well, yeah. Yes, just anybody. It's just
just
for anybody.
anybody, yeah.
And it's, like I said, it's still being used. I have some friends in there. So.
Well, Potter's Field, remember when people were very poor and they'd bury them in Potter's Field. And so I was just wondering if that was, do we have that? Is that still around?
That I don't know. I don't think there's any near Montgomery. I think there's several little cemeteries all around the place. Those are the 3 main ones in the town. But people buried people on their land and everything, and I would think that they would just throw somebody out in the woods if they needed to.
Right. Well, that's what it's your forever home. It's not like they moved around a lot. Like when they were in
Oh, you'd be amazed.
Then they would.
You would be amazed. There were people that came from all over. There were the Methodist Church was founded by a missionary from up east somewhere where they sent. And then Sam Houston came through town. He stayed in the hotel there. I mean, people did move around a lot more than you think they did.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't come and build a home and then stay in that home for a long time, or like a farm or whatever they would do. I would think that if you had a farmland and it's passed on from, it's Yellowstone, and it's passed on from family member to family member, I would bury the people, my people there.
That absolutely,
land.
Absolutely happened. But then there's some homes in there. Like for instance, there's a home called Social Circle, and it was named for Social Circle, Georgia, the hometown of the man that moved to Montgomery. There was also a Revolutionary War soldier that moved to Montgomery in his old age and is buried in the old cemetery. So we have a Revolutionary War soldier. We have a lot of veterans buried in our cemetery.
That's amazing. So that's where they feel like their spirit is still there.
I did a lot of research. When I did research for this and I was gathering stories, I talked to a lot of the older residents of the town that have been there for generations. And they really feel like some of the buildings are haunted, understandably, like they know what happened in there. But a lot of the buildings that you wouldn't think of would be haunted, like the hardware store. That hasn't been there that long, but it was on the site of the hotel. A lot of the people think that the land is haunted. And and it was the grounds of the Cochran Indians before.
I was just going to say, it isn't buried over an Indian graveyard.
Well, no, we don't know if there was an Indian graveyard or anything like that, but there were Indians very active in the area, and a lot of people just feel like maybe it's the land that's haunted. So
I love that because our I guess our reference is movies. And when we see movies and we see the cemeteries and we see the people rising up and the spirits coming out at night and that kind of thing. And so it makes it scary to walk through a cemetery at night because you feel like that's when the spirits and that's when they are
Well, you're going
most
to walk
active.
through one with my tour.
I love it.
I say that we don't actually walk all the way through it or anything like that, but we do go in and we stand and we talk about it and everything. So,
and you don't want to step on anybody's grave. That's always, I can remember whenever they would have services out on the cemetery, and you would go out and trying to walk to that grave and not step on anybody's body. As a little kid, I remember they'd say, "Don't step on this. Somebody's buried under there." And I thought their body was right under the earth right there. It wasn't in a casket.
Funny.
And so it was always a scary place to be. So you're setting such a mood. If do you start with that cemetery, or is it just somewhere along the?
No, you mentioned this. Well, when I said the State Bank, you remembered that, right?
Yes,
the State
yeah.
Bank is on the Main Drag in Montgomery, and it's the oldest commercial building in Montgomery. And we start our tour there. It's occupied by a winery, this really cool little winery called H Wines that they specialize in French wines and Texas wines. They have their own grapeyards? Is that what? Winery, whatever. They get their winery.
Graveyard.
Vineyards.
Yeah,
That's
your
the word
vineyard.
I'm looking for. They have their own vineyards out in Cold Springs and stuff like that. And the owners are just amazing. They are so sweet. It's two Frenchmen, Steve and Philippe, and the building is haunted. So we start there, go through our tour, and then we end there, and that's our last stories. Those are our stories.
Oh, very
and
cool.
If they're not super busy, then Steve or Philippe will tell the stories.
Do they have an
they're
accent?
firsthand. Oh, yes.
Oh, that's
they're both from France, and they have really thick accents.
Oh man, that's awesome. And I don't know why the English accent makes anything scarier, that somebody's telling a story about. But I'm sure your accent's perfect because it's Texas.
East Texas.
Yeah, your East Texas accent. Yeah, it's funny that you that you're starting there. Now, was it one bullet or was it several bullets that were embedded in that bank?
Well, the door is the original doors, and they've got a really thick glass to them, and there's only one bullet hole.
Okay.
And we really don't know. There's debate about whether it happened during that shootout or if it happened during a bank robbery, which could have been it could have even been the same event. Honestly, we don't know what all those guys did, but they were really wreaking havoc.
It was only 4 of them.
There was only 4 of them.
Okay, and they had 2 separate mobs coming together to converge on.
Well, yeah, there was one following them from Bear Bend, which I'm not even sure where the community of Bear Bend was, but following them, and then a mob formed in Montgomery of the residents that were just,
to protect themselves.
Yes, and so there was that shootout. But in the bank has got the original bank vault, and some robbers at one point had burrowed through the wall just enough to put some dynamite inside the vault in order to try to blow it open, and it didn't work. But and they have an old tool bag in there that was left inside the vault from the attempted robbery. But there was a robbery in the 30s that I think 1931 during the Depression that they stole one of the safes. And they managed to get it back. They have the safe in there, too. And they keep the really, really expensive wine in the safe.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they do.
Well, so the Burrows weren't part of that at all, any bank robbers?
The Barrow, Clyde,
the Barrows,
no,
Burrows,
not
the
that
Barrows.
I haven't heard of any stories of Bonnie and Clyde coming to Montgomery. However, I sat down with 2 residents, the Duncan brothers, and I didn't ask them how old they were, but I'm thinking they're in their 90s or close to it.
Yay.
And they've lived there their entire lives. So one of them told me that their dad had been hunting at one point in Conroe over, where the old trestle bridge, the railroad trestle bridge is on 2854?
Yes.
That it was in the news here not recently, but in the last few years that it's coming down. I mean, it's deteriorating, and they wanted to tear it down, but then it's historical, and so
Right.
they managed to save it. Anyway, he was hunting in that area, came into a clearing and saw a car and 2 people standing there. And he thought, well, they must need help. I'm going to go see if I can help them. And when he got within talking distance, the man said, move on. Just keep moving. And he thinks it was Clyde Barrow because Clyde, he had family here in Conroe.
Right.
And that he used to meet under that bridge.
Well, I can't remember his name now. You'll help me with this, Richard. Richard always goes like, what are you talking about? The guy that owns a lot of property in downtown Conroe, and he was everywhere. Oh, okay, this guy, and I can't remember his name.
It's Rodney Poole.
Rodney Poole. Rodney was going to tell me that the apartments that he owned the stories came that's where they stayed when they came into town.
Well, I think I heard that too, and I think they probably did until they were wanted.
Okay.
And then once they were wanted, that he used to hide in the woods and let his family know that he'd meet them at that bridge.
Okay.
And so,
That's-
so that must have been when they were on the run.
Right. And the reportings of people seeing them in the halls of that apartment. And so I'm really interested in, like, there is connection, but of you talking about the bank robbers and what Bonnie and Clyde were known for, that they would have never, maybe it was too close to home to rob that bank or rob.
Well, here's the thing. The bank went out of business. Well, it was liquidated in, I don't have the exact date in front of me, but during the Depression.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yes. And so it didn't last okay, here it is. The building was built in 1908 and it was liquidated in 1934.
Okay.
So, and I'm not sure exactly when Bonnie and Clyde were doing their thing. So, and if I were them, like, that's a very small town.
Yeah.
You know,
They
I would
had
have
too
hit
much
Conroe
money.
before.
Well, the bank vault at Moco Food Hall has
Speakeasy.
Yeah,
Is
it was,
yes.
and that they stored the gold coins that would come through on the train there in that vault while they're waiting for whatever they had to do. But anyway, that was so cool, and that now they've made it the Speakeasy.
And I heard.
Yes. Oh, what would you hear?
I heard that it's haunted.
That's
That there was a
great.
suicide in there.
There was.
I believe.
Oh.
And I feel bad telling the story because I don't really remember the details of it. It's just one of those stories I'm kind of collecting. If I
Yes.
ever do go to
Yes.
Conroe, they also Moco Food Hall was really good in letting me advertise there, and so of course that brought out some stories. But
Mm-hmm.
I heard there was something like a robbery or something, and the person responsible for the funds just was distraught and went in there and killed himself. But I'm not entirely sure on that.
Well,
But they say it's
It's-
haunted. The the barkeepers there say it's haunted. So
in what way? What shows that it's haunted? What somebody believes?
moving things around, cold spots, things like that. So
The cold spots. That's
yeah.
when you go through a cold spot. Have you gone through a spirit of someone? Is that what that indicates?
I don't know. I am not really the best on that. I'm not all that into paranormal investigations, which there have been a couple paranormal investigators or investigations on some of the buildings that I talk about. I just am here for the stories. I love the stories, and
Oh,
I tell
me too.
the people on my tour that the history they're going to hear is as accurate as I know it to be, and I've had to amend a few things along the way where I was telling them one thing and then I found out it was another way. But the ghost stories are all either firsthand, or I will tell them that I just heard rumors about this or whatever. But a lot of them are firsthand. Like I've gone into the businesses and talked to the people that work there, or talked to the people that live there, that sort of thing.
That's awesome. Carly Crimmen she's been part of the Lone Star team, and she's blind. She lives in those apartments that where they say that's where Bonnie and Clyde was. And I talked to her one time, and I said, now, do you I know you haven't seen anyone, but do you feel a presence in this? And she said, yes, I think I have. And it was so cute, because of anybody that'd be really sensitive to different changes
Right.
and stuff like that, it would be someone like her. She's amazing, just amazing person. And I was so curious about how people see this, and the people on the tour, are they coming in as believers? Are they coming in skeptics, or how are they?
That's a
treating
good
it?
question. I definitely have believers, because people have talked about things that they have felt on the properties as we're going through. And I'm sure I've had skeptics. Nobody has been outwardly skeptical, because here's the thing: I'm not saying that this is actually happening. See, this is what these people have told me,
Right.
and there's a certain amount of I feel a responsibility that they gave me these stories. 'Cause,
Right.
that's very vulnerable. to
Oh,
tell
sure,
someone about that.
and sure.
But so I don't really let them. I don't give them the opportunity, I guess, to argue with me. I mean, if they don't believe, what are you doing on a ghost tour?
Yeah.
If you're there to argue or be
say,
a,
this
be
is a bunch of
skeptic.
baloney,
Which
yeah.
I mean, a healthy skepticism is a good thing.
Well,
It
sure,
is.
of course.
But ghost tours are fun. Ghost stories are fun. And I really believe that the people that told me these things experienced these things.
Right, and that's what I would. I had Dennis O'Connor and Deanie Boy and another woman, and they were talking about talking to dead people, talking to seeing things happen that a spirit has done, or that they feel like, two of them, their daughters had passed away, but they keep contacting them. They keep doing things and moving things and doing stuff like that are causing them to. And I said, well, does it make you feel better? She says, oh yeah, it does. It's not scary to me. I'm so
Right.
happy that she's there. She comes in and out. It's not anything that she stays around, but she comes in and out. And so anytime someone has had an experience like that, you don't question it and say, listen, that's just, the
Yeah.
mind can play tricks on you, and anything you want to have happen can happen because you'll make it happen. But it's, so you never would do that to anyone, but that they've had an experience, that's theirs.
Well, and I think it's really narcissistic to think that we know everything,
Right.
and that there's nothing out there. Even if you want to be incredibly scientific about it, there has been some evidence here lately that there are parallel universes, and so it could be something of that nature. You just don't know where time is. Anyway,
we were just talking
but
about parallel universes that Richard believes that he may be, seeing, and I don't know if he really actually sees them, but he does believe that they're there somewhere. Don't you, Richard?
I mean, anything's possible.
anything is
Well,
possible.
We were talking about how I was explaining that to me, individuality is a big deal to me because of how they can't find two snowflakes alike. They can't find two
Absolutely.
blades of grass, or the baby's handprints are created inside the mother's womb, and they move around, and so the fingerprints become everybody's different. And they finally accepted that in 1920s. The FBI did, and they were going to start using that as a way to, you are who you are. And so I was talking about this. So I said, so there'll never be another you from the beginning of time to the end of time. You're the only one that's going to, occupy the space. And so, and I said, it doesn't matter if you have an identical twin. You can have an identical twin, but your makeup and your DNA and all that will be different. And so we're talking about that, and he said, well, but what about the parallel universe? What are they all unique as well? And let me get back to you on that one. But
and I would argue that they are. They are unique because their experiences are different.
Exactly. And so it's just cool the way God created this so that we didn't have to compare ourselves to each other. I want to be like you. I want to be so much like you because you have these great experiences. And you just have to hold off for at least 2 minutes. And hang on, everybody. We're going to be right back. We have to take a break. And we want to thank again Chris Wootton and the Wootton Financial Group for being our sponsor. And he will be here tomorrow. So just remember that. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Is there someone you know who is hooked on vintage aircraft? Follow the Commemorative Air Force and its fleet of World War II planes, including the mighty B-17 Flying Fortress Texas Raiders, which is based in Conroe, Texas. Texas Raiders tours locally and all around the United States, offering the public a chance to put their hands on aviation history. What could be a more perfect gift than a flight on a historic B-17? Taking to the sky on the iconic bomber is an experience that will never be forgotten. For the touring schedule, reservations, or more information, go to b17texasraiders.org or call 855-FLY-A-B-17.
Every week, people ask the same two questions. Are they ready to retire? Will their savings last for their lifetimes? Hi, this is Chris Wootton with Wootton Financial Group. Our firm has been in Montgomery County for decades, but the hopes and dreams of the people we serve never change. We help answer these two questions and many more that people have about their uncertain financial future. We have a simple introductory client experience that allows us to get to know the client and includes a few meetings for the client to kick the tires at no charge. We provide a concise, one-page summary that helps the client get a better handle on which questions are the right questions for them. To learn more about Wootton Financial Group's process in helping their clients to a clearer financial future and to see their contact information, visit Cindy Cochran's show page on irlonestar.com/TCCS. Wootton Financial Group is a proud sponsor of the Cindy Cochran Show. Wootton Financial Group is available by phone at 936-449-5952 or visit them on the web at www.woottonfinancial.com. That's www.woottonfinancial.com.
And we're back on the Cindy Cochran Show that you're listening to and looking at Leah Lamp of the Leah? No, Lamp. Just wait.
Lamplight tours.
These are like all over the
Lamplight
table.
ghost tours.
Lamplight ghost tours.
And you can find links in the description below for the Facebook and the website.
Oh, yes.
We're at lamplightghosttours.com.
Yes. And on my Facebook, this is what I put on there next to your picture. And so also they can find it. So if somebody wants to make sure they're listening to this and they're going like, well, I miss it. When do I sign up or how do I sign up?
Oh, that's a good question. Now, here's the thing. I have done a lot of public tours. In fact, I just started this. I think my first tour was September 30th. And I've had over 400 people come through the tours.
Wow.
But because it's winter, even though it feels amazing outside
yes,
today,
right now.
I've actually shut down public tours just because I might get one person, I might get two, I might not get any.
Right.
But I'm still open for private tours. So if you would like a public tour, to schedule on a public tour, I'm going to start scheduling them again in March.
Okay.
But a private tour, if you have 3 or more people, I'm willing to do a private tour.
Really?
And all you would have to do is email me at lamplightghosttours@gmail.com. But if you go to lamplightghosttours.com, that email is in there as well.
Right.
Just email me and we'll figure out a date and time. The walking is a very leisurely mile, and it takes about an hour and a half. And in the fall, in October, I do have hayride tours for those people that feel like they can't walk. It's not, I don't like the hayride tours as much because you don't necessarily get to go up inside the bank.
Yeah, and feel
and
touch.
things like that. However, it is easier.
It
is easier.
bet.
And it's fun.
I
and
bet.
if it's cold, you can bring a blanket.
Oh, and the kids would love that as
Yeah.
well. Did you have a lot of kids on these tours?
I tried to, it's funny because when I put hayride, I had people going, oh, what ages? Like, can I bring, and somebody want to bring 6 kids. And it really isn't targeted for kids. Mm-hmm. It's not horribly scary. Let me just say that. Nobody's going to jump out at you. But it is a lot of history. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of listening. So maybe not for the kids. I recommend it for 12 and up.
Right.
But I've had younger kids, and they were fantastic.
They were. Oh,
Yeah,
good. Now, so if I want to sign up, I go to your website, and I will. Do I pay now, or do you pay?
You book it, you pay, usually through PayPal, but we can work out anything.
Yeah.
And tickets are $25 a piece unless you have a group of 10 or more, and you get $5 off of each ticket.
Oh.
But you have to let me know. You have to email me, and I'll give you a discount code. And then I have, if you follow the Facebook group, sometimes I have sales. Like if I have a group that's going out and it's not quite full or whatever, that day I'll run a sale, sometimes as low as $10 a ticket. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, what I love is that you really leave it all open for the people on the tour. You're not trying to convince them that there are spirits here watching us
Right.
as we tour, or that somebody might, encounter a spirit or anything like that. So you're not pushing that. You're just pushing, here's the story, here's the stories that we've had, people who live here for a long time, and this is what their experience was. So I don't question that. I just let you decide for yourself, right?
Well, I don't present it that way. I don't say, well, you decide for yourself. No, I don't tell. I just tell them the stories. If they want to believe, they can believe. If they don't want to believe, that's fine. But it's full of history. Anytime I go to a city, I try to take a ghost tour. If I travel to, I've taken them in Galveston,
Louisiana.
New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So,
New Orleans. Yes.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's even for skeptics. If you're skeptical, that's fine. You're still going to get a ton of history. You're going to get a history lesson, and Montgomery is so rich in history. And we really embrace our history. So we have a lot of historical buildings that date back to the 1800s that are being lived in, worked in, that sort of thing. They're still being kept up and still being used. And it's really cool town. Montgomery's a cool town. And I've had so many people that have lived there all their lives and go, I didn't know that.
Right.
I didn't know that. So a ghost tour is just a great crash course.
And plus, Montgomery has one of the best cafes, I guess it's restaurants there. I cannot remember the name of it, but we would go there, and it was amazing. I don't know if it's still there or not. It's been a while.
They have the Cozy Grape. They have the Montgomery County Steakhouse, Montgomery County Steakhouse. They have Hodgepodge Lodge. There's so many.
It was one that was just like right in the smack dab center of town, right off Main, and you could see the bank building. And so I don't know if it even.
It's probably Cozy Grape. It's right across.
That's it.
You said and it's funny that you say that because there's a lady that so the bank building is owned by a woman and I talked to her, and she told me that she had never had any experience with a ghost. And people have told me that about their buildings. Like I'll ask them, and they say no, it's not haunted. Never had a ghost. So there are buildings that are not haunted in Montgomery, but the woman that owns the bank building says that her last 3 tenants have all told her that it's haunted. And so the tenant that's in there now is the winery, but the tenant that was in there before was a pet supply store. And she had actually left for work, or she had locked the door and closed it for lunch and went across to the Cozy Grape. Turned around and looked in the window, and 3 figures were standing in the window looking out at her. And she got a picture.
She has a picture?
She has a picture. They're see-through. There's a man standing there in a top hat. There's a woman standing beside him, and then there's another apparition that you can't quite tell if it's man or woman. And she has a picture. I have not gotten a hold of the picture yet.
Oh, if you do.
But she has taken it to the winery and shown it around. And I think that the owners have gotten a hold of the picture, or a copy of the picture for me. And I just need to get it.
Oh,
so it'll totally be on my website and everything.
Right.
But I mean, with her permission, because it's her photo. So.
Leah, that would be so fun.
That bank building is very haunted.
Yeah.
And some of the stories are really, really interesting.
Now, I'm going to have to drive all the way down there and eat at that place and go across and look at the bullet hole. And then see if I see
the window and see if you can see anything.
That is the coolest thing. I love that. Well, if you're anywhere near downtown Conroe, to highlight Conroe for a second. It's a very quaint looking place. Like when you get down to right Main, and right around there is so cool and has so many shops and antique stuff and anything that you want, and a lot of places to eat downtown Conroe. And I was wondering if the red brick is still there, right? I haven't been this way is red brick is that way anyway. I get lost anyway. The red brick and the brewery, there's some
Pacific Yard House.
Yeah,
Is that?
Pacific
That's a
Yard. Have you eaten there yet?
I've eaten at yes, and Moco Food Hall is right next
Right.
to it. Those are
Yeah.
all historic buildings.
Yes. I was wondering if the brewery ever talked about having a.
I don't
Spirit.
know. I need to.
That would be a good- yeah.
Move into, and I'm sure that the theater.
That would
the
scare-
theater has
yeah.
to have stories.
That would scare me to even go sit up in that balcony, because it's just like everybody just walked out at that year that it was, how old it is. And it's just been left. It hasn't been touched. But it has, but it's just, you come in there and you really feel like you're walking back in time. And that's what I think your walking tour would be like. It's like we're going to go back in time.
I try to do that. I try to bring people back into, and it's funny because I've done it so much. Like I know the characters. I know, like I can just picture them. We have Charles Billinger Stewart, who designed the Texas flag. He lived in Montgomery and was buried there. We have so many characters and so many stories that I can almost picture it. And I try to do that. I try to bring the people into the stories, and especially if they're residents, like they're a part of this.
Well, we had a historian one time come in, and it was fascinating. He was talking about all the things that happened around here, and he said, the guy that designed the Texas flag, there's an interesting story there. And I went, like what? And he goes, well, the person that was going to have to sign off on the flag and say, this is the flag that we're going to use for the Texas flag, is that when the man, what's his name?
Charles Billinger Stewart.
Yes. Okay. When
Charles
he
Stewart.
walked in, he laid it down on the desk, but it was upside down. And so when he signed off on it, he had to say,
That's
yeah,
exactly right.
And
so
I
he
just
pushed
love
it
that.
across the desk. So
Yeah.
Charles is standing or sitting on one side, and it's face up to him, and he pushed it across the desk, and it was signed. And there's a replica of that in the museum in Montgomery.
In Montgomery.
That's our first stop, is the museum, which is the Nathaniel Hart Davis
That's
Museum
so-
Complex.
I just loved that story. I went, that is so amazing that the white would have been.
Well, the red is usually on the bottom,
right.
right? But he signed on the side
Yeah.
where the white was.
Right. That's fascinating. So nobody went back and changed it or anything.
No.
He didn't
No.
have the time to say, oh, excuse me, it's upside down.
No,
It's
he
like-
signed it into being, and I think that it's just the replica is displayed on the wall in the museum, and if I remember correctly, I think it's displayed correctly, like as far as the flag goes,
Right.
And it's the signature that's upside down.
That's so funny. That's great.
But Charles
I love
Billinger
that.
Stewart, he designed the Texas flag. He also designed the seal of Texas, I believe, when it was the Republic of Texas, and he is buried in the new cemetery out there.
He is.
And there's a statue of him in Cedar Break Park. out
There. Okay, there is. Well, is he? Or were you aware that Conroe, the first name for Conroe's city was Miracle City?
I remember reading
Luke,
something about that.
Luke Reedus, who
I know who he is.
he came and he said, did you know that it wasn't always Conroe, it was Miracle City? And I went, what? The name of this place was Miracle City.
I bet that's where I read it, was when he opened his Miracle City.
Right, that's right, and that's why it's named that. And I thought, well, I wonder what made them change it. Why would they change it to? Yeah, and who invested the most in all that, and all the Cochrans that were here. That's what is interesting. Is what I drive down and there's a Cochran Street, and I went and took my picture with it and said, I'm telling you, the radio show has really gotten me somewhere. They've named a street after me, and it's just great. No, but it is, when you go to that little white house near Candy Cane Park, and it has the history.
Heritage Museum.
Yeah, the Heritage Museum, and you go through that, it's fascinating. And there were a lot of Cochrans during that time, and about the paper mill, and how they shut it down. They thought it was going to be a lot of things shut down here, and that's what Luke was saying. He said a lot of things shut down here, and that's why we see, the timber, the steel, and all the stuff that was going on was taken away, and so they were about to shut everything down. And this guy came in and said, I think I'm going to look for oil here, and they were like, oil's not here. I'm sorry, my voice is just not cooperating. They said, oil is not here. And I was like, and he said, I'm going to find it. And he found it. And he found it. Now, but I don't see anybody else drilling for oil in Conroe. I haven't.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
So anyway, it is interesting. I love the history that you have found. I love that you're doing this. And that I saw your big article in the paper when you first started the tours. It was great. And I kept that around like forever. And people would pick up and said, what is this paper doing here? And I said, open it up. They go, oh, this is Leah. I was like, and then they put it back.
It's Leah.
So anyway, I'm so proud of you. And I think that you're doing
Well, let me
doing
tell you
great.
about my sponsors really quickly. I'm sure you know who these people are.
Yes.
Paul's Auto Electric, and they specialize in all automotive electrical wiring and computer problems, as well as minor service and repair, automotive service and repair. And Roy's Air Conditioning. They service all brands of all makes and models of air conditioners, and those are two service companies that have been in Conroe, serving the Conroe area since the 1970s. And under their current owners since the 1980s. And that's really important when you're looking for a service company, because the ones that are going to scam you or whatever, they don't last. Also, Wolf 96.6 online radio station. It's all Halloween all the time. Really fun.
Oh, how cute.
And then, of course, Remnant Stew podcast.
Oh, yes.
Featuring bizarre and
tell them when you're on.
true stories.
Tell them when you're on. That's your
That's
your
my
show.
podcast, and I co-host it with Dr. Stephen Meeker, who was an educator in Montgomery. He just retired after 42 years of teaching.
Wow.
So, and he taught Texas history.
How fun.
Well, no, that's not true. He didn't teach Texas history. He taught history. Mm-hmm. And so he's really.
But you've
really
got a lot of good people. Well,
Oh,
I'm so proud of Wootton Financial Group that's sponsoring me. And anyway, he's going to be here tomorrow. Remember, Chris Wootton will be here tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Cindy.
Loved it. And first responders, we love you so much. We love you so much, but even better, God loves you. So see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Every week, people ask the same two questions. Are they ready to retire? Will their savings last for their lifetimes? Hi, this is Chris Wootton with Wootton Financial Group. Our firm has been in Montgomery County for decades, but the hopes and dreams of the people we serve never change. We help answer these two questions and many more that people have about their uncertain financial future. We have a simple introductory client experience that allows us to get to know the client and includes a few meetings for the client to kick the tires at no charge. We provide a concise, one-page summary that helps the client get a better handle on which questions are the right questions for them. To learn more about Wootton Financial Group's process in helping their clients to a clearer financial future and to see their contact information, visit Cindy Cochran's show page on irlonestar.com/TCCS. Wootton Financial Group is a proud sponsor of the Cindy Cochran Show. Wootton Financial Group is available by phone at 936-449-5952 or visit them on the web at www.woottonfinancial.com. That's www.woottonfinancial.com.
This program is sponsored by the Wootton Financial Group. It is not the intent of Wootton Financial Group to render or offer personalized investment advice or financial planning advice through this radio program or any related website. Wootton Financial Group's participation in this program is limited to providing general information on financial matters and should not be construed as financial recommendation or investment advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Game Plan Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the state of Texas. Insurance services are offered through Wootton Financial Group, Inc. Game Plan Advisors and Wootton Financial Group, Inc. are affiliated through common ownership, and neither firm is affiliated with The Cindy Cochran Show. No listener should assume that any information presented and or made available on this program serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized individual advice from Game Plan Advisors, Wootton Financial Group, or any of their representatives.